A View to a Kill was Roger Moore's final time up as James Bond in 1985. It's often called one of the weakest entries in the franchise. And yeah, I'll admit, it has its problems. Big, obvious ones. But you know what? It's still a load of fun. It's a big, ridiculous, colorful send-off for Roger Moore's era of 007. Silly as hell in places, steeped in pure mid-80s excess, but it delivers entertainment if you're not expecting Casino Royale level grit. Approach it with the right mindset, and it's a guilty pleasure that mostly works. Stick around as I go over the hits and misses of what works and what doesn't work with one of the most unique James Bond movies, A View to a Kill. Let's not dodge the elephant in the room. Roger Moore was 57 years old during filming, the oldest actor ever to play Bond in an official Eon Productions movie. He's supposed to be this peak physical specimen, charming the ladies, outrunning goons, and winning fights against younger, more physically fit men. To his credit, Moore still delivers his effortless sophistication, the raised eyebrow charm, the dry one-liners, all of the things that defined his run of the character. The man had presence right up to the end, so kudos to him for that. But modern big screen TVs don't lie. In the close-ups we see the lines on his face, the slower movements, the reality of a man who is clearly past his physical prime, pretending to be in his physical prime. The romance scenes with women in their 20s and 30s feel properly uncomfortable now. Roger Moore himself, to his credit, admitted later jokingly that he was about 400 years too old for the part. He even realized that one co-star was young enough to be his granddaughter. Smart move calling it quits after that. The franchise needed fresh blood, but before he quit, he gave us one last globe-trotting adventure full of classic Roger Moore era lovability. It kicks off strong in Siberia. James Bond retrieves a microchip from a frozen agent's corpse, and then the Soviet troops come in on skis. Proper pre-title sequence stuff. Then comes the film's first big tonal swing and miss. James Bond turns a snowmobile wreck into a makeshift snowboard and glides down the mountain, and then the dramatic music turns to California Girls by the Beach Boys, which is absurdly horrible. It's cringeworthy, it's stupid, it's pure 80s. The shift from tense escape to surf rock party is absolutely silly, and it undercuts the danger and the suspense of the moment. Yeah, it's bad, but you know what? It also kind of lets you know what you're in for. It's a light, playful movie that doesn't take itself too seriously. From there, it's a globe-trotting adventure, James Bond world tour. He goes from London to Paris to a French chateau and finally ends up in San Francisco. The plot is refreshingly straightforward for a Bond film. Max Zorin, a psychotic microchip tycoon with KGB connections when it suits him, plans to trigger a massive earthquake along the San Andreas Fault. What is his goal? Flood Silicon Valley, wipe out his competitors, and corner the global market on microchips and computer technology. No endless double crosses or migraine headache-inducing twists, just a big, mad, megalomaniacal villain with a doomsday scheme. Proper James Bond stuff, easy to follow and entertaining as hell. And Christopher Walken as Zorin, he steals the entire film. Walken brings a manic, unpredictable energy and real menace. You believe that this guy is a brilliant psychopath. That signature cadence, the inappropriate laugh, the cold calculation behind his flamboyance. He's eccentric without going full cartoon. He elevates every scene that he's in. Grace Jones as Mayday matches him for presence. She's imposing, athletic, charismatic, and one hell of a henchwoman. Her twisted loyalty and tensions with Zorin give the character actual depth, and her eventual shift adds proper weight to the climax. The rest of the supporting cast is just fine. I have no complaints about the people in the movie. There is one standout sequence I want to talk about, and that is the Paris chase, where James Bond gets into a little taxi, and then it gradually disintegrates piece by piece as the chase goes on. It's ridiculous, it's campy as all get out. But the practical stunts and editing make it rather thrilling. The little taxi just falls apart until he has nothing left but the front wheels and the seat. It's ridiculous, but it's fun. After so many movies and so many chases, you gotta do something a little different, and this one sticks out. It's quite memorable. It's campy, but it works. The movie also has the Ascot horse racing stuff, which is quite enjoyable. You see James Bond being sophisticated, wearing a suit, saying sophisticated things while drinking beverages and charming the pants off of people. It's all good fun. And then finally, it's off to the Golden Gate Bridge, an ambitious sequence that I just love. Zoran's massive blimp headquarters, with its trapdoor executions, flies along and eventually goes to the top of the Golden Gate Bridge, and James Bond and Zoran have a fight. It's a lot of fake backgrounds with reasonably okay special effects. You can tell it's fake, but you know what? You're not going to get Roger Moore to actually climb up the top of Golden Gate Bridge, nor would you want him to. The effects are dated, but they work just fine. It's something to be expected in a movie like this. It gives us a big climax, and that's what you want in a movie like this. I don't know how they got down from Golden Gate Bridge. The movie doesn't show us that, but at any event, that's what happens. There's not as many gadgets in this movie, but the movie looks great, especially the location shots, the one-liners, the Duran Duran theme song. It works. I'm not a huge Duran Duran fan, but you know what? The James Bond movies are basically time capsules. We live in 1985 when we watch this movie, and Duran Duran certainly adds that aesthetic. Look, I'm not going to pretend the movie doesn't have flaws. Some of the action relies too heavily on stunt doubles. A few moments stretch credibility to the extreme. Roger Moore's age makes certain bits distracting. Critics have hammered this movie for years, and it often ranks near the bottom of franchise lists. If somebody gives a ranking of their favorite James Bond movies, very rarely would A View to a Kill be at the top, and you know what? It wouldn't be at the top of my list either. But the movie knows it's silly. It leans into the absurdity with self-awareness, and the movie is charming, and it's fun, and that saves it. Some James Bond movies give us gritty realism, some James Bond movies do the opposite, and some people have their preference for one version of James Bond over the other. This movie is 80s escapism. The movie ties things up nicely, the catastrophe is averted, Bond gets the girl. It's a bittersweet end for Roger Moore fans. He gets his send-off, but really the send-off probably should have been the previous film. But I'm telling you, man, if you watch the movie for Christopher Walken, the movie's worth it for him alone. The sequence where he has a machine gun and he's mowing down his own henchmen while laughing, pure James Bond villainy, and I love it. Let me know in the comments what you think. What did you think of A View to a Kill? Does it rank near the bottom of your list of favorite James Bond movies, or does its campiness elevate it to a level that you quite enjoy? I'm open to suggestions. What movies and shows would you like to hear me talk about? If you want some entertainment that is not AI generated, check out my books on Amazon.com. 100% of my novels were written by me, not an AI. If you want to read some human written works, they are there for you. Until next time, folks, Eric Wilfred Watson signing out.